back to another episode of Mission in 5, the podcast, where we ask 5 simple questions to everyday ministry practitioners to learn more about who they are as people and where they see God moving in their local communities. I'm your host, Greg Mamula. Well, welcome back to Season 2 of Mission in 5, the podcast. Last time we spoke with Larry Harvey and Andy Springer, the pastoral team at First Baptist Church, Hastings. They shared about their unique dialogue preaching method where they co-preach sermons in a conversational manner. And they also talked about how 2 Baptist congregations became one in recent months. So be sure to go back and listen to this conversation and the many other engaging conversations we've had over the last few months. This week, my guest is Aaron Sprock from the First Baptist Church and Kenwood Chapel in Chadron, Nebraska. Aaron has deep Wyoming and Nebraska roots. He is originally from Casper, Wyoming, but he graduated high school in Chadron. He left the area to become a graduate of the University of Wyoming and eventually Denver Seminary, before returning to Chadron to pastor First Baptist Church, the same congregation his uncle pastored in previous years. He is married to his wife Crystal, and together they have 4 children. First Baptist Church and Kenwood Chapel recently partnered with the American Baptist Home Mission Society short-term mission program to volunteer in the Rebuild, Renew, Restore ministry in hurricane-ravaged Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory and one of the 34 official American Baptist Churches USA regions, just like Nebraska. Puerto Rico is home to 25,000 American Baptists comprising of 113 ABC congregations. They also are host to 9 different mission agencies. Pastor Aaron is going to share a little bit about his ministry at First Baptist Church and Kenwood Chapel, and also tell us a little bit about his recent mission trip to Puerto Rico. Well, welcome to the show, Pastor Aaron. I appreciate you taking a little bit of time to speak with us today.
Glad to be here.
Very good. Well, as you know, our format is easy enough. We ask 5 simple questions to ministry practitioners like yourself to learn more about who you are and where you see God moving in your community. So let's just dive right in. Question number 1 is always, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Aaron Sprock, and I'm currently the pastor of First Baptist Church in Chadron, Nebraska. Part of just my background is I'm a Wyomingite. I was born and raised in Wyoming in Casper for first 16 years of my life, and greatly enjoyed the cowboy state, that's for sure. And then moved from Casper to Chadron, Nebraska, just to be closer to some of my family. During that time in Wyoming, I lost my father to cancer, and so family has always been important, and so we moved closer just to be able to be with family there. And Chadron was a wonderful time. As a 16-year-old, I wasn't too keen on moving away from all of my friends in Casper, but turned out to be a wonderful blessing from God, that's for sure. So graduated from Chadron, Nebraska, and did a really wonderful thing of picking my major by whatever class was easiest, and attended Chadron State College for 1 year.
Okay.
And when I went to go register for the class that I thought was the easiest, which was political science, I didn't even have to open a book the entire semester. I just was able to get all of that stuff taken care of. And so I went to the registrar's office, and they said, well, unfortunately, you are going to have to go somewhere else if you want to complete this major, because next year we are dropping political science as a major. So,
okay.
So I was like, okay, that's good, and still wanted to be a political scientist. And then I went to the University of Wyoming just because I still had friends from church camp that were going there.
Okay.
And God led me there, and it was a wonderful thing, because just kind of crazy to think about, but my wife was actually supposed to attend Chadron State College on a track scholarship, but she blew out her knee, so she could not do that. And so instead of going to Chadron State, where I was, she went to the University of Wyoming, where I was as well too. So just a cool way to see God's hand at work in all of that stuff too. So
now, was she your wife then, girlfriend, somebody you just knew?
No, it didn't didn't even know her at that point in time. No, didn't even know her. So,
Okay.
We met in my junior year, her sophomore year of college. So
in Wyoming.
actually, it was in Wyoming. So
Okay.
it was actually my sophomore year, and her sophomore year as well too. So
Okay.
that's what it was. But yep. So, and then graduated from the University of Wyoming with a political science degree. Didn't really know what I was going to do with that. Kind of thought I might work for some organization like the Christian Coalition or something like that. And as I got some internships and just some meetings with some people, just really saw that that's not where God was calling me. And so had a pastor in Laramie that just said, why don't you just think about ministry, and helped kind of mentor me through that process of just thinking about ministry. So then went to Denver Seminary and graduated with a MDiv with an emphasis in leadership. Spoke a little bit about my wife. I'm married to my wife. Her name is Crystal. She is from Wyoming as well, too. And we have 4 kids, a 13-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old daughter, and a 2-year-old son. So
All right.
that's kind of who I am.
Well, very good.
So,
No, that's a really well-rounded introduction. So appreciate that.
Yes.
So as we mentioned earlier in kind of the introduction, that you are now pastoring at First Baptist Church in Chadron. There's also a partner ministry there with Kenwood Chapel. And so how did that come to be? How did you become pastor of a church that you even attended as a teenager for a while?
Yeah, it's kind of a neat story, that's for sure. I was pastoring at a Conservative Baptist Association church in Brush, Colorado. That was the first church that I was pastoring at right out of seminary.
Okay.
And after about 6 to 7 years, just decided to be able to look into trying to get back into the American Baptist family. I had tried to be able to do that the first time, but just didn't work out. And so wanted to be able to get back into the American Baptist family, and so opened my profile up and had interviewed at a couple churches in Wyoming, and neither of them worked out. And then all of a sudden, I got a call from Robin Stoops, and he said, would you be interested in this church in Chadron, Nebraska? And I was like, I know that church. I went to that church. And kind of the same thing that happened with the church search group, the pastoral search committee. They had a couple pastors come in, and one decided not to come, and one they did not invite. And then my profile showed up, and actually my cousin, or I had two of my cousins were on the search committee, and they were like, yep, we know him pretty well.
All right.
So just kind of worked out that way, and brought our family from Brush, Colorado up to Chadron. So.
Now, when you were growing up in Casper, did you attend the ABC church there?
Yes, my family and I started going to Bethel Baptist Church, and a couple of years after my dad passed away, they had a youth group at the First Baptist Church there, and so we started attending the First Baptist Church. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Was Susie Ford there at the time, or was that a different time?
No, that was at that time. Susie Ford was the pastor that was there while we were attending. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Very cool.
Susie and I have lots of good memories with camp and just church and lots of different things. So yep.
That's cool.
So.
All right, so now you're pastoring First Baptist, and there in Chadron. Had some experience there, family connections, a lot of good stuff's happening. What are some of your hobbies when you're not doing ministry, when you're not actively engaged in pastoral work, which is probably never, given the way that most pastors live their lives? But what are you into?
I like to golf during the summertime, which unfortunately in western Nebraska it doesn't last all that long. But I do like to golf. And
right.
then,
are you good?
No, I'm not. but that's okay.
All right.
So the nice part about Chadron's course is it doesn't have too many trees and it doesn't have too much water, so I can usually find where I'm going. But
just like Western Nebraska.
Yes, that's right. And so I enjoy golfing, enjoy Frisbee golfing, or probably would be in trouble with people that actually Frisbee golf, because I think it's really called disc golf. But so I enjoy doing that. Enjoy doing that as well. And then lots of my hobbies right now are kind of wrapped up with my kids as well. I coach their softball teams and basketball teams, and like to go and watch my daughter, my middle school daughter, play basketball, and she's on a few travel teams and things like that too. So
very good.
Those are a lot of my hobbies there. Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk about the ministry side then. What's going on at First Baptist Church and in Chadron? And then after we talk about that for a few minutes, I want to hear about your recent trip to Puerto Rico. So let's start with ministry at First Baptist Church in Kenwood Chapel.
So we've been there, been ministering here for about 6 years now, almost 6 years, and just been able to see a lot of growth in some different ways. We've started some small groups that we started when we were first there, and those have really found a good way to develop community in some different places. And we're actually in this point where those small groups have kind of started to we're a smaller church, and so a lot of people know each other, and so as a result of that, just have kind of lost their importance into the focus of the community. And so we're trying to figure out some different ways to be able to re-energize that. And I know one of the things that we've looked at is even your Welcome to the Table initiative, and we're kind of digging into that to see if maybe that could be another way to just do something different, because you can only, watch videos and gather together, I think, for so long and stuff.
Right.
So this will be good for us to maybe dig into the community and build our community as a church a little bit more. So we're looking into doing that. We have a pretty neat youth group with, on most Sundays we probably only have somewhere between 5 to 10 kids attending, but then on Wednesday night we probably have somewhere between 20 to 30 come. And the neat part about that is we just bought a new van, because it's just the way in which we pick up kids. We probably pick up sometimes between 5 to 12 kids on a Wednesday, just driving through town and picking them up. And so it's been a neat outreach there to not only get to know the kids, but also to get to know their parents. And so obviously it's that time of year, so we're getting ready for a Christmas program for that, and really looking forward to that, because that's always a really fun time.
Well, what do you do in your Christmas program?
Change it up kind of every year. Sometimes we have plays, and sometimes we have some songs and things. And so this year we have 3 levels. We have a kindergarten to about 3rd grade group, and then a 4th grade to about middle school group, and then a middle school, high school group. And they're all doing some songs and singing some songs, and then they're kind of taking ownership of it and writing some plays, or just picking some plays that they wanted to be a part of, and then they will do that for the program. So it'll be neat to see how that turns out, since they're the ones they got to pick their stuff. So that's cool. So
pretty neat.
So, and then some of the other things that just as far as ministry to the church, I personally and a few other people from our church are pretty active with our FCA group, and we have probably about 60 middle schoolers that will come to FCA. And so,
and where's that hosted at?
The blessing is right now we get to be able to be in the middle school in the kitchen, in their FCS kitchen, and so it's hosted on site there, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Well, that's quite a bit.
And I think, quite a few things to be able to be involved in. So, but it's been fun. So.
Well, very good. Well, I know that so like we mentioned in the introduction, you and a group of people connected to your church recently went to Puerto Rico at the beginning of November to be part of the Rebuild, Renew, Restore short-term mission trip there. And so maybe just tell us a little bit, how did you guys come to want to do that? And then tell us a little bit about your trip.
So I don't know why, but when I saw the kind of destruction and devastation of that hurricane, I was always just drawn to that. And our church was really excited to join and be a part of that first offering that American Baptist churches did, and raised so much money for that. And I don't know why, it always stuck in the back of my mind. And,
Yeah.
We were talking with our men's group. We have a men's group that meets once a month called Building Men of Faith, and one of the things that we do is we just, if there's any projects that we know of in the church, we just go out and we'll fix somebody's roof or, you know, do some sort of maintenance project either around the church or around the community.
Right.
And so we kind of brought up about the fact that we've got quite a few people there that are gifted as painters and carpenters and different things that God has gifted them with, and would it be interesting to see how we could put a mission trip to Puerto Rico together. And then they came out and got the email from the American Baptist. I believe it's the Home Mission. Is that right? That
Yes,
runs
yeah.
that.
That's the ABHMS.
And said, you know, with the offering and with how much they raised, which I think was pretty close to like $1.2 million, which was amazing to see the body of Christ do that. And you can take a mission trip to Puerto Rico, and your food, your lodging, and all of that, and even the materials needed to do the projects would all be provided as long as you pay $150 per person. And you're like, I mean, you can't really beat a mission trip for that price.
Right. So it was $150 a person to go?
Yeah, so $150 a person for your food and for your lodging, and then for the supplies. You have to be able to obviously buy your ticket down there, and then also rent a car. But because Puerto Rico is a territory, the flights are really cheap. I mean, Southwest will fly out of there, and they're pretty reasonable tickets. But even the United flights that we're flying into there were really reasonable as long as you planned beforehand,
right,
you know, to be able to buy them. And so we had ended up with 7 people going, and I think our total price for the entire mission trip, and we tried to be able to raise some funds for the rental car and all of that kind of stuff, was right under $5,500 for 7 people to go. And so, I mean, for a mission trip, that's not bad at all for 7 people to go. So, and our church has always been amazing and blessing our mission trips. We've tried to focus on that with our youth group, and so our youth group has taken quite a few mission trips in the last probably 10 years, I would say. Yeah. And so they've almost always fully funded those things or came close. And we didn't think that they would do that just because this was an adult trip instead of a youth mission trip, but we did some garage sales and then had a quarterly emphasis to raise money for that, and our church was awesome and amazing and just fully funded that for us. And so really each person had to put a $50 deposit down, and that's all that came out of our pockets for that. So yeah.
That's really cool. So just for clarification, you had originally started talking about this with the men's group because you had a passion for what you were seeing in the news and that sort of thing. But men and women did go on this trip, or was it only men?
Absolutely, yes. One of the things that we had at the meeting was we said, well, let's open it up to the entire church and see who would like to be able to go.
Okay.
And we had 2 ladies come and join us, and they probably worked harder than any of the rest of us down there just because they were doing some landscaping down there.
Okay.
And that was pretty hard work and stuff. But yeah, I know that the team that was following us was comprised mostly of mostly of women that would come down there and we're willing to go down there and work. So absolutely anybody can go down there. So, yep.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what you did. Once you got there, what did you do? Did you build a church? Were you building houses, repair roads? Tell us a little bit about that.
So we were talking down there, and the lady that was our main contact, her name was Abigail, and she said they kind of have a 4-phase process that they're going through. And the first phase is completed, and that was to be able to restore their camp that's up there. They kind of have a situation kind of like Green Lake, but on a smaller scale, where they have this camp and conference center that was there, and it got hit pretty hard because it was up in the mountains, and the mountains got hit pretty hard up there. And so the first couple of teams came down there and just helped rebuild and restore that camp. And so they were done with that phase, and we had the ability to stay there, and it was an awesome place to stay. But now they're on to the second phase, which is helping to be able to restore some of their churches. Quite a few of their churches were pretty devastated from the hurricane. A lot of them did all right, but then there was other ones that just needed a lot of work as well too. And so that's what our team did. We went to a church called Iglesia Batista El Salvador, and it was right in the middle of toward the edge, of San Juan, Puerto Rico. And they were a church of probably about 50 to 60 before the hurricane, but one of the things that they'll tell you when you go down there is that after the hurricane, probably it feels like at least half of the people left from Puerto Rico, and that are coming back slowly, but that obviously affected their church as well too. And so they had moved their worship service down into what we would probably call a fellowship hall down there. They moved that down there, and we were just working and helping them get into the process of getting their sanctuary back to a place where it was usable. And so the American Baptist men had been down there at that church previously and were redoing their stage, and so we kind of put the finishing touches on that. They had some acoustic ceiling that was damaged because of the winds and the rain that got into the church, and so we helped kind of put the railings around the edge of the building so that acoustic ceiling could be replaced. We had a couple people that were on top of the roof and were sealing all of the places where the screws that were in the metal roof were, and then also every place where they overlapped, sealed those too. They had one major panel from the side of their building be twisted and had a hole put in it from the hurricane, and so we had to take about a 30 to 40 foot ladder and unscrew all of those and work from the top of the roof, and lowered that down and put a new panel in there, and then just did some painting and some drywalling in there so that the church could get closer. So it was a big job, but we had a lot of people that were really skilled at the kind of work that they needed, and so God provided in that way. It was pretty cool to see. So,
And so you mentioned other teams that are partnering with the Rebuild, Renew, Restore process. Were they at other churches doing similar work, or was this the one church that they were focusing on at the time?
Yeah, each team goes down, and they're just asking each church down in Puerto Rico when they need help and how they need help, and then you'll fill out a form of kind of what your talents are, and they try to partner with those churches with the talents, to see who can help where. And so we had a couple that joined us. They were from Amarillo, Texas, but they're not part of the ABC, but just found us somehow. And so they joined us down there, and they were a joy to work with. But I think she said that before us had 17 teams had come, and after us for next year they had 30 teams that were planned to come so far in 2019. So there's still plenty of work to do down there, plenty of things to do. So
and one of those teams is going to be First Baptist Church of Norfolk. They're going down in January.
Cool, very cool. So there's plenty of opportunities, and so if a bunch of Nebraska churches want to do this, I mean, it is a wonderful mission trip. I mean, it feels like you're going overseas because you fly over the ocean and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to worry about passports or shots or any of that kind of stuff
Right.
like that either. And so it's a wonderful benefit in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Yep.
So if somebody was interested in maybe going on this and partnering with the Rebuild, Renew, Restore, how did you get in touch with that, and so that other churches may know how to do that?
So if you just do a Google search of Rebuilding, Renewing, Restoring Puerto Rico, or if you go to the American Baptist Churches of the USA, their website, there's just a whole section that is dedicated for that too. And so those are the the best ways that I did to just be able to link up with that. If you kind of want to see some pictures of what are going on and some of the different things that they've done, you can also go to their Facebook page, which if you just search under the Facebook search, Rebuilding, Renewing, Restoring Puerto Rico, that will be the first thing that pops up.
Sure. And then for you, did you guys take a lot of pictures and that sort of thing?
Yes, we'll be posting them online here pretty soon. We were going to do a presentation, but with the Christmas time season falling so close, we had college student come with us, and they have finals and things coming
Sure.
up, and then different people are traveling for Thanksgiving and stuff. It hasn't quite worked out, and so we'll get that slideshow put together, and then we'll definitely post it on our Facebook page at First Baptist Church of Chadron. So, yep.
All right, very good. Well, that sounds like you guys had a really good experience and that it was very meaningful to those who went, and I look forward to hearing more about it. Can you then, let's jump into the final question here is just what's next? I mean, where does First Baptist go from here? Where does the Sprock family go from here? What's next for you guys?
Just on a personal side, my wife and I are about ready to get on a plane to New York City on Friday, and I'm going to go and celebrate our 15-year anniversary. And my wife's always wanted to see New York at Christmas and the Rockettes and Rockefeller Center and all that. And so we did that. And December 2nd, there just so happens to be a Chicago Bears game in New York, too. So I get to go and watch that, too. So that'll work out pretty good. So
those games are actually in New Jersey, though, aren't they?
They are, yes, for sure. So, so have to cross the bridge somewhere to be able to get over there, that's for sure. But
well, that's cool. I've always wanted to go to New York City. I've never been there.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes and stuff, that's for sure. But for a person from a town of 5,000 people or so, it'll be an eye-opening experience.
They got that many people in each building.
That's right, I know, right? So that'll be fun for us. And then as far as the church says, one of the things we're kind of digging into and taking a look at is just our ministry board and how we look at things and how we work as a ministry board, or some people call them, like your board of directors or something like that too. And we're just kind of taking a look at how we do that for our church and kind of looking at the Baptist roots of that and also the biblical roots of that too. And then, like I said before too, I think we're really looking into the welcome to the family table process and just being able to see how that can encourage our fellowship in our church as well too. So those are kind of the two big things we're looking at. So.
Well, I hope that's a helpful ministry for your church and that you find it valuable resource there.
Absolutely, and I'll put in a shameless plug for you. If you want Greg to come out to your church, he'll do it, and he does a very good job too. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So anybody looking for learning how to do table fellowship and using some spiritual disciplines in your everyday life, then we would love to help you learn that skill of welcome to the family table. So. Very good. Well, it's been great talking with Aaron Sprock. If our listeners had questions about your ministry or they wanted to know more about your trip to Puerto Rico, how could they get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is through my email, which is all lowercase letters, pastor dot or period, whatever you call it, Sprock, my last name, which is SPROCK @ yahoo.com.
Very good. And then your church has a website?
It does. It's www.fb, as in First Baptist, so fbshadron.com.
Very good. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. It's been a really good conversation, and I hope everybody was encouraged by your experience in Puerto Rico and is looking for ways to connect in their own way to foreign mission trips. Well, it's not foreign, is it? It's just a mission trip. And maybe participating in Welcome to the Family Table and those sorts of things. So, Aaron, thanks for talking with me today. I appreciate it.
Great to talk to you, too, and hopefully next year it'll be a Cubs-Red Sox World Series, right? So.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
All right, thanks. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for listening to Mission in 5, the podcast. Keep tuning in as we introduce you to the many church leaders, pastors, and ministries impacting the churches of Nebraska and the larger American Baptist community. Check out the show notes for links and contact information for Pastor Aaron Sprock. There you also find links to the First Baptist Church of Chadron, the Rebuilding, Renewing, and Restoring website, and various social media pages. Subscribe to the podcast at Podbean, iTunes, and Google Play. And while there, be sure to rate and review us so that we know how you're enjoying the podcast and making it easier for others to find us in the future. Send us ideas on who you'd like us to interview for future episodes, and feel free to support us by giving through our PayPal link at www.abcnebraska.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.